Welcome to another edition of Leading Edge Interviews, where we get to know the top artists in the world of progressive rock just a little bit better. I'm your host, Supa Dave. Well, there are artists out there who do seem to pop up everywhere you look. They're known by people throughout the business, and they're often behind the scenes making things happen even when we're not aware they're there. The man known as Bumblefoot is one of them. Thal is a guitarist, a songwriter, and a producer, and he is absolutely one of the people making all kinds of things happen. So much so that he's come up in several other interviews I've done with other artists in the past, like Jason Bieler and Tom Monda of Thank You Scientist. He gets around a little bit. He's clearly a man who likes to keep busy and has really deep reservoirs of creativity to bolster that. He's actually so busy these days that he's in two bands, count them, two, that will be releasing new albums within about a month of each other. First is Art of Anarchy. Their latest, Let There Be Anarchy, is out now, and they will be starting a tour soon. And his latest, we'll call it supergroup project, Whom Gods Destroy, will be dropping their debut on March 15th. That is entitled Insanium. Well, I spent a little bit of time talking with Ron about his experiences, his perspectives on working within a band structure, and all the new music that's coming up for both his bands, as well as one definite tour and one other tour we're hoping to be seeing popping up before the year is out. So, without further ado, here is my conversation with the one and only Ron Bumblefoot Thal. How you doing on this fine morning, sir?
A fine morning it is. Yes, I'm doing fine on this fine morning.
Very good. Good to hear. Excellent. So getting things started here, you guys got some interesting stuff going on right about now. New announcement of a another supergroup. You seem to be the man of supergroups these days, and some pretty big names involved with this besides yourself, obviously. We've got Derek Sherinian, you got Dina Jalusic, I think I'm saying that correctly. I don't think I've ever heard it pronounced out loud, but I've read it.
Yeah. Supergroup, a band. We formed a band. So there was Sons of Apollo, and when that disintegrated around 2020, Derek and I just kept writing the way we did with Sons of Apollo, which is he sends me an idea, I send him an idea, and we go back and forth, we build on them, and we just make songs. And Jeff Scott Soto, the singer of Sons of Apollo, he knew that I was also recording new music with this other band I have, Art of Anarchy, with some old friends of mine. And he said to me, look, you guys have had problematic singers so far. Why don't I just sing with you guys? And this way you won't have all the headaches. And he was right. So he became, like, Sons of Apollo split into two bands. You have Art of Anarchy, which is actually, as we're speaking right now, have an album coming out tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
A brand new third album. Yeah.
Amazing. So I somehow missed that under my radar. You're a busy man.
Busy, yes. So it's called Let There Be Anarchy, and it's Jeff and I and the Voter brothers that founded the band, and Tony Dickinson, incredible bass player. And that comes out tomorrow, that album. And we're going to hit the road in March doing some shows in the Midwest and the Northeast. And meanwhile, Derek and I continued sort of where we left off with Sons of Apollo musically, just turning the knobs up, turning everything up a little bit. The proggier stuff got proggy, the heavy stuff got heavier, just giving more, which is always what I wanted. I always wanted it to be just a little more hard-hitting and intense, and I guess you could say sweating a little more at the gym, just pushing harder. And I think we're doing that with this record, finally. Yes. Yeah. And we got Dino singing. He joined the band in 2020. He started working with us, and we started three of us writing, and then Yaz joined, and Bruno joined, and we have that album coming out next month. So yeah, so I have two bands that are putting out singles and an album around the same time. Plus, I have a solo album that's finished since June that I've slowed down on, so I could just put the time into these two bands and get them out. And right after these, I'll put out my solo album of just crazy instrumental music. and I've been producing a ton. There's a band called the Doties. I love this band. They're a garage rock duo. The drummer plays the whole kit with just one arm while playing bass on a synth and singing backing vocals, and he kicks ass. And every once in a while, he'll grab the stick off of there and play. And the guitar player, who's the singer, the lead singer, he's sort of this like Kurt Cobainish kind of spirit to him, and he will kick on this octave pedal that runs to a bass amp, and then he becomes the bass, and they just have this huge sound for two dudes, and the music is very Radiohead melodic type, very interesting stuff. So
Amazing.
we've done 3 albums together that I've mixed and mastered and co-produced with them and everything, and that album will be coming out soon as well. So yeah, keeping busy. Got the hot sauce company going, so keeping everybody burning up and having fun with that, and hoping to do some food festivals with the hot
Yeah.
sauce.
Holy
And
smokes.
yeah, busy,
Yeah,
busy.
dude.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Even more impressive than I knew coming into this interview, because you're a dude that's been around. You've played with a lot of different people, and it seems like, even in this band itself, you've brought in some guys who have sort of a similar background. Like Derek's been everywhere, and we're labeled keyboard god of the 21st century and things like that. And Dino's been around. He first came to my attention, I think, in the midst of the pandemic when he did a thing with Mike Portnoy, and I think Derek and someone else I'm forgetting at the moment. Probably was you.
Oh, we
They
did
did
something
cover
too. Yeah,
songs.
it's everybody is connected. Like
Yeah,
Bruno he's been in the band Angra,
yeah.
phenomenal Brazilian band. And I've known that guitar player from Angra. That was Kiko's old band, and now new guitarist. I don't know if he's new anymore. He's been in there a good couple of years now. Marcelo Barbosa, incredible
Ooh,
guitar player, wonderful guy. We've done a lot of things together in the past. He has music schools that I've done clinics at, and we've played together. I recommended him to be my replacement when I left Guns N' Roses. I recommended him.
yeah. Nice.
And his bass player, Felipe Andrioli, he and I did something with Dino and my solo drummer, Kyle Hughes, an incredible drummer from the UK. Guy is phenomenal. I think he's going out with Richie Kotzen soon.
Uh-huh.
Uh, yeah.
Huh.
Who also Bruno played with. And Bruno and Felipe are in a band together. And when Billy couldn't do the final shows with Sons of Apollo, Felipe was the bass player. And Dino and Yaz did some music together about a year ago. And so, like, everybody has done things with each other. It's all this big pool of people that are all kind of swimming together and doing different things. And then this came together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is amazing, the interconnectivity of the music industry and the field these days, because I know in particular, like, you were one that I, over the last several years, really just began to realize you were like this linchpin figure that everybody intersects somewhere at
the,
Bumblefoot.
you find out
Talking
with
with Jason Beeler and
everyone.
Tom Monda, and I'm like, you kept coming up.
Oh,
I'm like, God, he's everywhere.
love those guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to be probably either today or tomorrow. I'll be hanging out with Tom Monda.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Well,
love that dude so much.
tell him Super Dave says hi.
Will do. And
And
Beeler
get
is
him
one of the
working on a new
funniest
album
people I
quick.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
he is.
Beeler works with Soto, with Jeff
Yeah.
Scott Soto. They do that incredible comical duo together.
Yes,
Yeah,
we saw that. That is quite a show they put on. It was great. Fun guys.
definitely. Yeah, so it's like this big giant web that everyone is connected, and you can get
Yeah,
to every point of the web in some direction. And it's like that with everybody in music. It's like
yeah,
everybody has this just 1 degree of separation between anybody else. Yeah.
yeah. Seems like, but it seems out of anyone, if you found a kindred spirit somewhere, it's with Derek, because you guys now have been working together pretty solidly for 7 years at this point in time.
7 years.
Your second band
Yeah.
with them. Um, Gee, I guess that confirms you guys really work well together.
Oh, we do. We're different. Musically, we're different. So we kind of battle it out and keep each other in check.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, and it creates a balance that works. Yeah.
nice.
And then we all work together with this Indonesian band called Dewa 19, this huge Indonesian band for decades. They're like the biggest rock band out there.
Oh wow.
And I've known people in that circle for years, like the singer. We've done things together, and so all the members, well, almost all the members of Sons of Apollo did this whole group thing where we did some charity songs, fundraising songs with them together during the pandemic. And then last year they did a bunch of concerts together in all these big arenas and everything. And Dino joined.
Oh, nice.
So it was Dino and Jeff and Derek. I sat that one out. I'm just trying to travel a lot less these days. Yeah, and just do more producing and teaching. That's what I love the most.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just talking this morning with this band Evoken. I don't know if you know who they are, but they are this doom metal, the doomiest doom of doom metal. And I recorded their first couple of albums. We would work right in this room, and I think we're talking about doing another album together that I would record, and I hope it works out because they're wonderful guys, and it's been a long time. Once I started touring a lot, I kept missing the opportunity to do their next albums, and so I think we'll finally be able to do one again.
Very cool. Very cool, because I like these interviews when I get like about 3 or 4 other band names I don't know that I've got to write down and then go check out afterwards, because I love to explore this stuff. So it's very cool to hear what you're doing and interested in outside of here, outside of your normal band, rather.
Oh, I could tell you about a whole bunch of things to check out. Yeah. So Evoken, they've been around also since the 90s. I'm not sure how deep into the 90s they went, but they were like the underground, I don't know what you could call them, but they were the doom band. The slowest beats, like the tempos weren't even measurable. They were like below 20 BPM. Like beats that would just, like, we had to get the hugest sound when we would record. I would mic up this entire house. You'd be playing in here with the door open. In every room and downstairs, I would have mics to just capture all of the echo of everything and just the natural resonance, and just had the sound of just like like it sounded like music slowed down to half speed, but it was them playing in it, and the singer just had the most dirty, just kind of voice, and just great guys, so much fun. And that's what I found also, oddly, with recording so many bands. I recorded a lot of New York hardcore bands in the 90s at a studio in Brooklyn that I had. And you find that it's like this pendulum where the heavier the music, the sweeter the soul. I found that all the time. I would record some church group and they would be such bad people getting in fights and just trying to not pay the bill and things like that. And then like the music that would scare Satan that other people would be making, and they would just be the kindest, sweetest, most wonderful human beings you could ever know. It's weird how that works.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, and I found that like it just wasn't a one-time thing. Like I noticed this like constantly, just being a studio guy, producing artists and working with different people and yeah, interesting.
Very cool. It is. Musicians are I find over and over and over again a just very cool group of people overall. No matter what they're playing, no matter what's going on, they
givers.
The people that can come across with these immensely very serious or very tough or even satanic, as you said, then you talk to them, the sweetest people ever. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes me wonder too, because having played with so many different bands and groups and things like that, and having had multiple bands, like I imagine it makes it, I think, easier both to adapt yourself to what's going on around you, and as far as your style and things like that, and your playing, but I also think it probably starts to help you gain a lot of perceptiveness into which people are going to fit with what you're trying to do best. Like how do you figure out for yourself when you've got that just right combination of players in a particular band?
Ah, that's a tough one
Yeah.
because you don't really know people until you're in the trenches with them. Uh, but you do, yeah. I mean, bands are a tough marriage to keep together.
Mm,
They are. I applaud any band that could keep it together. God bless them. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, because all I would say, all it takes is just one person to fuck it up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
and it's interesting. Yeah, you have different types of music. You have different personalities. You have people with different backgrounds, with people with different challenges.
Right.
Um, yeah, you'll find everything from I've played with people in their 70s that had more energy than I did,
Mm,
and that were just more professional and mellow and just smooth and could just go with anything and
yeah.
just fine. Like the band Asia,
Mm,
greatest guys you could ever work with. Wonderful guys, great players. You never have to worry about a thing. You don't have to worry about, oh, is this person going to be late or drugged up or is this person going to be screwing this up or is this one like you don't have any of those issues. Like they're
yeah.
just solid, reliable, dependable, no worry, professional, decent, kind, normal, good people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I loved playing with them. And then I've found people, in the same age group that were the most childish I've ever
Mm,
experienced.
wow.
Like, I could tell you stories off the air that would be like, what the fuck? Um, yeah, and then I've worked with uh, like here's an example. Here's an 18-year-old just turned 18. Uh, she is just a solo artist that started off when she was 15 as my guitar student.
Oh, wow.
She lives in Ontario, Canada, and she can sing any heart song just on the fly, like it's as good as
Wow.
as Wilson in the 70s. I mean, just
Yeah.
with ease, incredible voice, and she writes tons of songs. She's a great piano player, guitar. Uh, she plays drums and bass and records all her own stuff in a home studio. And I help her mix it all. So I like, co-produce, mix it. And she takes all these Berkeley online business courses and she books her own shows and plays all over the place and handles her own marketing and everything and studies
Wow.
up on that. And I've never seen someone that has their head together so
Right.
well. And to be doing all of that as a teenager, uh, you never know. Like everybody is an individual. Oh, her name is Sierra Levesque,
Oh, okay.
Levesque,
A name to
and
look out for in the future.
yeah, now she's just starting to put out singles.
Yeah.
Also, check her out. She just put one
Yeah.
out called "Wrong About You." That's really beautiful, and she shot her own music video and edited that herself. And like seriously, just a one woman army of just kicking ass.
Yeah.
So you have an 18-year-old that can do that, and then I deal, with a 60-year-old that can't tie their own shoes, and like it's totally different. And there's
Right.
a lot of psychology involved.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of music involved. There's a lot of everything involved. It's an interesting world, and you meet all types, and everybody's different. You can't predict anything. You can't say, well, these people have been in the business for 40 years, so they're going to be very professional.
Mm.
No, no.
Yeah.
This person's just starting out, so they're just going to be a clusterfuck. No, no. Yeah.
Yeah. It
So
surprised
you don't know until you're working with the people in
you. Yeah.
different situations to see how it is. And for me, it's tough because I'm pretty empathic. I feel people's shit, and it's
Mm.
uh, so if you're dealing with difficult people, the I get affected by it. If I'm dealing with easy people, I get affected by it, and I try my best to just stay solid. But I've been in situations where everybody was just not my kind of
Mm.
monster, and
Yeah.
it wore me down and made me someone I didn't want to be. And then in other situations, uh, you find that they bring out the best in you. Yeah, just people bring out the best or the worst in each other. That's
Yeah.
pretty normal across the board. And in a band situation, a touring situation where you're not grounded, you're just living on these 24-hour increments of who knows what the hell's going to happen. And it's a very unstable scenario that, some people flow with it really well. Others need their stability.
Mm.
And everyone needs different levels of it.
Yeah.
Everyone need, like you could laugh at artists that are like, I need a bunch of teddy bears in my in my dressing room. And it's like, what a freak. But until you've had to function at that level with those demands
Right.
and everything and what it does to your brain, whatever it takes to keep you sane. If it takes teddy bears, bring on the teddy bears. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, wise words. And obviously from someone who's had to deal with a whole lot of different people in the course of your career. Makes me wonder, as many people as you've worked with, are there still people out there on your bucket list that you would like to have the opportunity to do some stuff with?
I have a bucket list similar to most people's, I think, is like any of the surviving Beatles,
Right.
Dave Grohl, uh,
Grohl would
yeah.
be cool.
There's lots of people at this point in life. Anyone who's not a dick, I'm happy to do anything with anyone. And honestly, I love more just being off the field and being the coach and
Yeah.
helping other people get on the field at this point in life where I love producing and teaching and helping other people
Right.
you know, do their thing.
Right.
So it's not even the kind of situation where I want to play with this huge name or this huge name or anything like that. No, I would rather, I'm happier to work with someone that has the right spirit and has the potential and the work ethic and just a good soul. And even if they're just starting out, to be contributing to their journey, which will hopefully be a long, happy one.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough. So we've eliminated Roger Waters.
Very much so. Yeah.
Had to take my shot. That's on me, folks. That's on me. I did that.
Yeah. Whatever you're thinking, I'm probably thinking the same thing. And I love Pink Floyd.
Yeah,
You could just
as I
shut the
do as
fuck
well.
up and play. Yeah.
But Roger is a target I enjoy shooting at.
Yeah.
So I'm curious too. You've got this long-term partnership writing with Derek, and then, as you said, you started bringing in Dino, and he started writing and all that. How does that mix in with, like, what's that? How's that change the writing dynamic? I guess is what I want to say. How does that impact what happens from there on in, and how easy is it to integrate somebody into ideas maybe you already had running when they maybe say, "Hey, have you considered going this other direction?"
I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
The thing about a band, and I always say this, is if you got a band of 5 people, that means that 4 out of 5 of your ideas should be shot down and
Mm.
make room for other people. Only 20% of what you contribute should get through. And if it's more than that, then you're taking something away from someone else. And it's not an equal balance of contribution. Uh, Usually it ends up being more than that because people agree on ideas and everything, and it's fine. But you have to be willing to leave room for other people's input, and you have to be working with people where you trust and respect and like their input. They're in
Yeah.
the band because you like what they do and what they bring to it. So just stay the fuck back and let people do their thing. Let them be who they are. And it's only going to add more to the band. It's going to add things that you can't.
Right.
Everyone in any band I play with brings in something that I am incapable of bringing. they bring in something unique to them that I wouldn't have thought of, that a direction I wouldn't have taken, and it makes it more than it would have been if it just came from one person. For the times that you get frustrated with that and you want to just get it all out, that's what solo shit is for.
Right.
Go do a solo album. Don't try and make a band your solo thing.
Yeah.
Let it be a band. Let it be, a team. And if you're getting a little antsy with that, go write some solo shit and put it out. And, get 100% of yourself out that way.
Right.
And you kind of need to do both because one thing can't be everything.
Yeah.
You can't ask a band to fulfill all of your needs, and your solo thing can't do that either.
Yeah.
So it's good to have both and not demand one from the other.
Right. Great perspective. It's I, it's seldom expressed that I see from other people where they talk about that whole idea of the give and take, and they have such a well-formed idea of what that means and how that is done. So I can appreciate that, and I'm sure that comes from a lot of experience working with a lot of people and seeing all these different ways that people approach things. So clearly, you've been paying attention and observing your life lessons.
Yeah, just don't try and control everything. That's what
Yeah,
it boils down to. No matter how much it means to you, how much every single note is,
yeah,
everything to you. Just it's just a fucking song. Don't be a dick.
yeah.
Seriously, just lay back, flow with it. You probably find a year from now that your own idea sounds wrong and you like where it actually is. And,
Right.
yeah. The other thing is so many times you get demoitis where you're so used to something that everything else just seems wrong because you're used to it. And there's
Right.
so many better ideas out there that you have to just let go and let
Yeah.
it happen. Yeah. So with Whom Gods Destroy, a lot of it was just Derek and I making music before the other guys joined. So uh, hopefully, if there's a second album, we'll be building that as a team from the ground up.
Right.
Uh, and it'll sound even more like what it's meant to be.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, and actually being mindful of my time, I don't know if I was given an exact time frame you had. Are we looking at a hard stop up here somewhere that I need to be mindful of?
Oh, until you get sick of me talking. Yeah.
Fair enough. At some point, the people that pay me for work are going to want me in as well, but I'm good with that for now. Cool. All right. So I was curious, Whom Gods Destroy? One, uh, I've been listening to it. I got the advanced copy, so that has been a very enjoyable journey so far. You are talking about it being both heavier and proggier at the same time, and I want to say that is an apt description. You guys achieved that goal to my ear.
Good.
And
The label, they described it as a pummeling. And they thought it was too much at first. They listened to it, they're like, guys,
really,
this is a beating. This is it's like, and I'm like, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And Derek,
okay,
he's like, we need
progressive metal.
ballads. Yeah.
Yeah. So but it's a good beating. I've heard some great stuff where yeah, it's absolutely pummeling, but it's mixed in with the melodic and it's mixed in with the tricky and all those things that keep a somewhat ADHD brain like mine focused on all the stuff that's going on and keeps me engaged. And listening to it, you guys have really almost taken what you had done with Derek in Sons of Apollo and like you said, amped it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Took the next notch up. Like, yeah, you didn't go for death metal growls and things like that, but Dino probably can do that. I don't know that I've heard it, but he can do everything else. He's got
Yeah.
an amazing range. Is one of the first things I'd ever realized about him when I first heard him. But whether it's clean, whether it's getting dirty and gritty, whether it's at times he's almost puts me in mind of what Russell Allen from Symphony X, and then the next thing I know, he's almost sounding ever so slightly moments like I'm going, wait a minute. Now he's suddenly channeling, and I'm probably going to mix the names up, but I want to say M Shadows or whoever the lead singer is of Avenged Sevenfold. They got the
Mhm.
funky name, so I always get them mixed
Yeah.
up. So there was like elements of that here and there, and I'm like, wow, he's so capable with that instrument that his voice as far as the range and style and texture and everything, and that matches the capabilities that you and Derek bring to the band as well as the other members. The other members I'm not as familiar with, that I had to
Oh,
look a little
they
harder,
are.
but yeah,
Bruno is, yeah, he should be on the cover of every damn drum magazine. That guy is the most incredible drummer. And Yaz is this insane guitar player that can play. I don't know how the hell his hands do what they do. He's just amazing, but he's also a phenomenal bass player.
yeah.
So, and Dino is also a great keyboard player too.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's a lot of, I have the pleasure of playing with these multi-talented people. Uh, yeah, and yeah, they're all phenomenal. But Dino, he can growl, he can sing sweetly, he's got the tone, he's got the range, he's got the attitude, he's got the soul, he's got a hell of a voice.
Yeah,
And he's a great guy. Yeah.
cool, nice. What were the inspirations behind this album besides taking it harder and proggier? Like what I didn't have a lyric sheet in front of me at the time, so I wasn't able to necessarily follow with everything, but I'm curious of what the thematic inspirations were.
A lot of it is just Dino just writing his words.
Yeah,
And I think the singer should be singing their own words. And yeah.
yeah,
The, there was one song that I wrote a chorus for before Dino joined, and we kept it song Over Again.
hmm,
But other than that, yeah, it's all him.
yeah, wow,
And
okay,
just writes about different things, just whatever he's thinking about. Uh, from war to just personal things that we all deal with and go through, to just road life,
yeah,
to just the demands of, you know, being, a musician's life type shit, and like just whatever, just things that are real to him
yeah,
and to
very
us
cool.
too, to
Yeah,
all of us, something we can relate to. So yeah. So
okay,
he just writes about whatever's in his heart, in his head.
yeah,
And musically, we just wrote. And a lot of times with albums, you don't have a direction in mind. You don't say, I'm going to write an album that's going to be this style. You just write. And when it's finished, you stand back from, it's like you're flinging stuff at a canvas, and then you step
right,
back and it's like, what did I just make here? Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what it is. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So a different kind of approach than someone might think in terms like you don't come to it as like a concept album. We're not doing something with this overarching theme or telling a story. That's not the kind of style you're into.
Unless you're making a concept album,
Yeah, unless that's
then
your
you
thing. Yeah,
have, you have the storyline and you're writing for that, and you're almost
yeah,
scoring this story that you have plotted out. But in our case, we're just writing a bunch of songs.
yeah.
And
Very
that's
cool.
it.
And it's interesting too. I just couldn't help but notice that you went from Sons of Apollo to Whom Gods Destroy, and I'm going, okay, we've got a God theme going on here, and I'm wondering, is there something there behind that? But it probably just sounds like you came up with a band name that you thought was pretty cool.
We just were trying to come up with band names, and uh, being the geek that I am, and start looking at just Twilight Zone and Star Trek names of episodes. And one of the uh, Derek and I remember we were Zoom chatting, FaceTiming, and going through the list and everything. And then one of the Star Trek episodes, Whom Gods Destroy. Mm-hmm.
And I knew it sounded familiar for a reason, but I had not made that personal connection. Yeah, what's a great name, but it's a very cool title as well. I wish I remembered the episode, but I know I've seen it because I've seen most of those multiple times.
Okay, do you remember the one with the good-looking green lady dancing around?
Yes.
And yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. There we go. The classic episode.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost could have been Good Looking Green Lady was the name of the band.
Yeah,
If that
but that
captured
was
my person.
taken.
That was taken. I imagine it's got to be incredibly difficult these days after, what, 60 years of rock and roll to come up with new band names that aren't already taken somewhere else.
It's impossible at this
Yeah.
point. It's pretty much impossible. In fact, there is a band, Whom Gods Destroy, and they're in Eastern Canada. And I reached out to them. I was like, "You guys cool if we use the name too?" And they were totally cool. They're like, yeah, yeah,
Right.
as long as we don't have to like stop what we're doing. It's like, no. And I even said to them, in fact, why don't we tour together? Whom God's destroyed with whom God's destroyed and do shows. Like, yeah, like it hasn't been done. Uh, and just why the fuck not? And
Yeah.
they cool dudes, very just kind of just
Yeah.
good ballsy metal kind of, yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, there's two of them, and if you search the name, check out both.
Nice. I will do that.
Yeah.
I like your idea. I like your thinking of touring like that. And we'll get to that. But I am kind of curious too, because you guys said you started writing a lot of this material back in 2020. So some shit has gone down in the intervening 3, 4 years during that time. And I'm kind of curious how all of that stuff that hit everybody between 2020 and 2023 impacted the process of creating these songs and the writing. Did it change things, or did you guys pretty much plow forward and kept yourselves focused on what you wanted to do, or did you find yourself changing some things up along the way?
Oh, well, life always happens.
Yeah.
There's always something. So yeah, we had just put out the second Sons of Apollo album, and
Yeah.
we were touring, and we got about 4 shows in to a 20-show European tour when we had to pull the plug and get back home.
Right.
And then we had all this time, so we all wanted to write album number 3,
Yeah.
and there was not everybody was on board. So Derek and I just kept writing. I
Yeah.
kind of hoped that maybe people would come around and we'd be able to do a third album, but
Right.
realized after a point, I was like, it's just hoping for the impossible. It's done.
Yeah.
So it split off into 2 bands,
Right.
twice the music. You got
Mhm.
Art of Anarchy with Jeff. You have this with Derek, and we just uh, we had a lot of time to nurture the stuff and just keep rewriting and tweaking and this and that, and we had the gift of time.
Mm.
The best gift you could ever get. It's the only thing that that goes.
Yeah.
So to be, for such horrible circumstances, but to have that gift, and you see so many people took advantage of it. Where I know so many people during that time that whatever they were doing with their life, they suddenly had time to do the thing that they always wanted to do and never had time for, to learn a new skill of some kind or get a new hobby or something like
Yeah.
that. And so, in that sense, I think a lot of people made good use of the time. And a lot of people were making music together that normally couldn't, just making those dreaded 4 box videos of people playing in their bedroom
Yeah.
of people that never would do things together. Uh, I put out a song that I had just sitting for a long time, and I finally had a chance to finish it and put that out, an instrumental song. And then I made a backing track version of it that people can solo over. And so many, I think it was like, I think it was up to about 500 people. Every once in a while, someone still does it from then. And all these guitar players and violin and horn and singers and drummers and keyboardists just taking solos over the section of this song and just sharing it all. And other people that did it would comment on it. And everyone got to know so many other musicians that they weren't aware of.
Yeah.
And that was cool as hell.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
made some good musician friends out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. You're right. It's like you've got something terrible happening, but if you can find something positive out of it, that's really kind of ultimately the key to surviving it. It's, what can you do now with this time you're given? If I can
Yeah.
sound like Gandalf for a moment there.
Well, I look like them. You can sound like them. All right.
uh, I can say the words. I can't do that voice. So speaking of touring and all that as well, like you mentioned, Art of Anarchy, you're going to be touring with them in a little bit for a while.
Yeah.
Uh, can those who want to see Whom Gods Destroy look forward to a tour with them down the road here?
Eventually,
Yeah.
hopefully, uh, band members had pre-existing obligations,
Yeah.
uh, and also it's a first album, a debut album.
Right.
So with that, promoters tend to wait and see the reaction that the world has to it before they uh, start saying, "Oh, I want this," and they don't really know what it's worth.
Right.
so, so until the album comes out, once it does, there's going to be a lot of clamoring. That's usually what happens,
Yeah.
and then we'll see what is possible. By that point, all the venues will be booked for 6 months, so it may not be until the end of the year that we get to do
Right.
something as far as a tour goes. If we could
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
one-offs or festivals, beautiful.
Cool.
But to do a tour where we're just, just going place to place to place to place,
Yeah.
that I think the soonest that could possibly happen would be the end of the year.
Right.
But hopefully next year we can be planning for that and do that.
Yeah.
And
It's a
we need the
different
time to
world.
practice this crazy shit.
Yeah. Right. That's something I imagine does take a good bit of practice to keep it up and just stick with all of that. But you guys handle it. I know you've got the skills to do that. That's not the concern at all. But
We did it once, we can do it again.
absolutely, touring's a different world these days. From everything I understand, even I think a good bit different than it was pre-pandemic. And it's, I guess, as I understand, not exactly a friendly world to those of us who are not Taylor Swift.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but for the love of music and knowing that people want to see it, you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. But yeah,
But
that's
it's
one of
not
the
only
things I think it's
yeah,
important for
it's
people that are fans. If you want to support bands, keep in mind there are ways to support them, and seeing them on tour is one of the big ones because streaming's not as kind as record sales would have been and things like
oh
that. It's a
god.
very much a different world than it used to be for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and touring has gotten a lot more expensive
Yeah,
since the pandemic. Just the price of everything is up. So there's a
yeah,
lot of bands that they go to tour and then they realize we can't. We're gonna lose our freaking houses.
yeah,
It's just we can't make that much of a sacrifice.
right,
Uh, so it's tricky.
yeah,
Yeah, and the only thing that keeps bands afloat, 99% of them, is T-shirt sales
yeah,
and meet and greets and things like that. So really, the bands are so grateful for that direct support that they get from fans. It keeps them alive. It
right,
keeps them able to go out and do what they're doing. Uh, yeah, bands aren't getting rich from it. Maybe some are, but the 99% aren't. They're just trying to survive and keep being able to make music.
yeah,
And it's that wonderful fan support that allows them to do that. Yeah.
right, absolutely. So that's
Although
a
with that,
reminder. Oh,
I
go
should
ahead.
mention that for the Art of Anarchy tour, uh, what we wanted to do is have the first 200 people at every show have a free meet and greet,
Oh,
and just have it completely free for everybody, just
wow.
as a kind of giving back. And then we realized that a 200-person meet and greet would take about 3 or 4 hours, and we would miss our showtime from the point that doors open and everything. And whoever person number 200 is, they're going to be, that's a long ass wait. And it's just, it works in an imaginary world. It would have been wonderful. But
Yeah,
so we narrowed it down to 50. So we're going to do first 50 people that come to the shows, free meet and greet for them. Yeah.
that's awesome. That is very cool.
Do what
Very
you
nice.
can.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I think mentally for the fans, they get squeezed a little bit too with all the prices going up these days. And I think as much as they want to support, sometimes they struggle with it as well. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
so. It's financially, it's a rough world out there these days.
It is.
Yeah, more so than it
Yeah.
was. But every generation, I guess, says that. So I'm hitting that age where I'm starting to yell at the kids, "Get off my lawn!" And
Oh, we're there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But at the same time, I look at them and it's like, it's like, good luck. It's like I look at the generation before us. It's like, oh yeah, I just bought a house. The mortgage is like 70 a month, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
You fuck.
$2,000, $3,000 house. Ooh.
Yeah, it's 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, pool,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's the world
Yeah.
has
Take
gotten
my bank
expensive.
account now, go back in time. I'd live like a king.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just it gets tougher and tougher.
Yeah.
So I wish them the best.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So the album Whom Gods Destroy comes out March 15th. Art of Anarchy. Let There Be Anarchy, right?
February 16th.
I didn't have that memorized. I was focused on Whom Gods Destroy. So you
Oh,
caught me
good.
by
You have a good
surprise on
memory.
it. March 1st. Well, once in a while I remember a few things. All right.
So
And
yeah,
Art of Anarchy will be on tour, you said, in the Midwest? Pretty much, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
March 22nd to March 31st.
Cool.
Yeah, just look up for both things. Look up Art of Anarchy band on social media.
Yeah.
That at you'll find all the info and everything. And with Whom Gods Destroy, WG Destroy everywhere. Like just remember that WG Destroy, WG Destroy, and any social media, and you'll find all our info for everything there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
There you go, folks. There's the info. Ron, I appreciate your time today. I really thank you
No,
very much. It's been a
thank
great
you. It's,
conversation. You
yeah,
know,
great hanging and chatting.
yeah,
Yes.
dude, you've got such a great perspective on the whole business and everything, and it's very cool. I that psychological perspective, that mindful perspective you have is an awesome thing.
I just try not to freak out.
That's
I
what it
try.
helped you do, right? But yeah, it's very cool. And if I had the time, I would sit there and pry you for all those stories.
One of these days.
Yeah, one of these days. Absolutely. Because I can imagine they are some great stories. And especially when I think back to those I know you've played with, I can think a lot of them might center on a certain particular area of time. Just a
You'd
hunch.
be surprised that
I
some of
might
those
be.
people are like Gandhi compared to others.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
you'd
That's
be
always an
surprised.
amazing thing. People will surprise you, as I always say.
Hmm.
All right. Well, wish you guys the best with the album. I hope it goes over big, and that means we get to see Whom Gods Destroyed live. I hope everything goes great with Art of Anarchy as well, and everything else you're doing, man. Keep it up. Like, keep helping produce the next generation of stars and everything like that. Without people doing that like you're doing, we don't get to hear the future. And thank you for all that, and I appreciate it. I wish you the best, my friend.
Thank you. You too. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you again. I'll see you out there.
Great. Wonderful. Take care.
Thanks. You too. Bye bye.
All right. Now, Ron is truly a man who has learned a lot of life lessons during his storied career. He's got a lot of wisdom to offer those in the music business and, frankly, any part of life, I'd say. The man's pretty smart. Listen to him. Best part of all his energy and creativity is that there's so much music he's putting out one way or another that we all get to enjoy. And once again, big thank you to Ron Bumblefoot Thal for joining me. Wishing all the best to you, sir, and your mates in both bands as the new albums drop and the tours start. Hoping for much success for you guys with those. And just a reminder to those who want to pick them up, Art of Anarchy, their album Let There Be Anarchy is out now. And Whom Gods Destroy, their debut album Insanium, will be dropping March 15th. So keep an eye out for both of those. Pick them up. They're both coming out of the gate smoking hot. So, and a big thank you to those of you joining us for the conversation today. I really do appreciate your time. Please remember to like and subscribe to follow along with my future interviews and whatever other fun I'm going to get into. You'll find the social media info in the description, as well as the link to The Expanse. That's my live 365 channel featuring the best in progressive rock and metal. As always, I remind you, never fear to deviate from the norm. Keep it froggy. And this is Supa Dave, signing off.